Government of Siaya, purporting that no health worker was attacked. It is we who are on the ground, and we are very much aware of whatever incident that took place.
Today, there will be no healthcare worker in all our hospitals for any matter of services until our issues of security in our workplace is handled decisively. Yes. Secondly, we want the perpetrators of such vile acts of cowardice to be taken action against. We request the police, we know you know your work. Please, by today evening, we want the perpetrators to face justice.
Mimi nilikuja hapa hospitali kwa matibabu, lakini nimepata kama mgomo iko hapa. Sasa ninarudi nyumbani bila kutibiwa. Kwa hivyo naomba serikali aone vile wanaweza fanyia wale wanago.
Now, Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga has warned of a looming crisis in county-run hospitals which may face shortages of essential medicines if the Social Health Authority scheme fails to clear outstanding debts. Now, speaking during the launch of health improvement projects in Madira, Odhaya and Nyeri town constituencies, Governor Kahiga revealed that SHA currently owes the county's hospital approximately $500,000. He noted that this amount forms part of the accumulated debts owed by the scheme, which previously operated as the National Hospital Insurance Fund, that is an NHIF. Governor Kahiga expressed concern that delayed payment are already beginning to affect service delivery, threatening patients' access to vital medications and medical care.
SHA ni mpango mzuri, lakini kuna upungufu wa fedha, ndipo tunapata kwamba kaunti zinashindwa kutekeleza wajibu wao kwa kununua madawa na vifaa vingine, kwa sababu kwa mfano niseme tu kaunti kama ya Nyeri tayari tunadai SHA zaidi ya milioni 280. Ukiangalia bado kuna pesa ambazo zilikuwa za NHIF milioni 242. Hizo fedha zote ambazo tumezitaja kama zingekuwa zimelipwa, basi tungekuwa tayari tumeshanunua madawa, tushafanya mambo mengi, lakini kwa sasa kuna shida. Wagonjwa wanafika katika hospitali, wengine wanapata kwamba faida wanaoipata kwa SHA imepungua kidogo kuliko ile ambao walikuwa wanapata katika NHIF. Hasa wagonjwa wa saratani inawaumiza sana, kwa sababu inabidi warejelee mifuko yao kutafuta pesa zaidi ndipo waweze kukamilisha matibabu.
Has officially been sworn in as the MCA for Chwele Kabuchai ward in Bungoma County Assembly following days of tensions amid claims of a plot to delay the process. Wakesa, who ran as an independent candidate, won the by-election with 6,162 votes, defeating his closest rival from Ford Kenya, who garnered 2,765 votes. Now, the newly sworn-in MCA is now expected to begin executing his mandate and fulfilling his promises to the residents of Chwele Kabuchai after completing all legal requirements.
Unajua hii maneno sikujua tutafika hapa, but leo ni mwanzo wa kazi. Kitu ya maana, ila ahadi ambayo tumeweka wakati wa campaign tutafuata moja kwa moja ili watu wetu wapate ile matumaini ambayo walikuwa nayo ikakuwe practical kwa maisha yao.
Tunakukaribisha na tutakuelekeza, na hii miaka imebaki mwaka mmoja karibu na nusu. Tukirudi kwa kura utakuwa umeiva sasa, utakuwa umejua njia zote, na ukurudi huko utafanya mambo.
Right now, U.S. Ambassador to Kenya, Susan Burns, says President William Ruto's visit to the United States is aimed at empowering young people and attracting investors to Kenya. Now, she also announced that the Kenya and U.S. governments will endorse several agreements, including a 5-year health sector partnership to tackle HIV, malaria, and other long-standing diseases. Ambassador Burns made these remarks during her visit to Mombasa, where she toured the busy port of Mombasa and interacted with young people at the Swahili Port Center with focus on youth empowerment and investment opportunities.
Working with young people is important because young people are actually at the center of everything that happens in the country. Earlier we were discussing about the median age of Kenya, which is 19 years. So whenever we work with the Gen Z, actually that is working with Kenya. But specifically today we wanted to touch on Scale Up project, which was supported by the US Embassy to build the business ecosystem within the coast, but also support some of the entrepreneurs.
Tomorrow evening there'll be a signing of a 5-year health agreement between Kenya and the US, and I'll save the details for after the agreement is signed, but we've been negotiating really to work as a partnership on the work that we've already done in Kenya for the past 25 plus years in HIV and malaria and tuberculosis, and this is kind of take it to the next level. But it really is a historic new framework. We're very, very excited about it. The Ministry of Health and teams in Kenya worked very closely with our embassy.
Now, Machakos County Governor Vinya Ndeti is now calling on young people to stop allowing politicians to use them as instruments of chaos during demonstrations, and instead channel their energy towards issues that directly impact their lives. Wavinya is also urging the youth to turn out in large numbers and register as voters in the ongoing continuous voter registration exercise by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, an exercise that has so far recorded a significantly low turnout. Now, speaking during the Wavinya Cup tournament, which brought together young people from across the county, the governor noted that the competition has played a major role in nurturing young talent and improving the livelihoods of many young participants.
Tena kingine nataka kuambia, wakati wa siasa kuna watu wamejifunza vibaya kutumia vijana kupigana. Kutumia nini? Gunzi. Vijana wa Machakos, msikubali kutumiwa na mtu. Mimi kama mama yenu nilishawaambia mwenda mpigane mahali. Hapana. Have I ever told you to organize yourself, you become goons? Hao wanakuja ni kina nani wanawaambia ati nini? Mushikane mwanze kwenda kupigana. Na sisi tusikubali watu kutoka nje. Tusikubali kasumba ya watu kutoka wapi? Nje. Wakuje kutuletea shida. Yule anatuletea shida.
Right now from Machakos County, we head over to Embu County, and Embu County has been ranked 32nd nationally in the HIV prevalence, with county officials saying the position reflects steady progress in key areas of HIV prevention, testing and treatment. Presenting the latest data, Embu County Chief of Staff, Ami Ruria, acknowledged the county's mid-tier ranking, but noted that significant improvements have been recorded through coordinated efforts involving national government agencies, global health partners, and community stakeholders. Ruria highlighted major gains in the prevention of mother-to-child transmission of HIV, reporting a sharp decline from 11.4% in 2019 to 6.6% this year. She attributed the improvement to increased investment in antenatal care, expanded HIV testing, and targeted interventions aimed at reducing barriers to treatment for expectant mothers. And according to the county, an estimated 9,782 people are currently living with HIV in Embu, and of these, 98.1% are aware of their status, a milestone officials credit to sustained awareness and testing campaigns across the county.
Kama Embu County, tumeelezwa kwamba tumerankiwa 32nd nationally on HIV, lakini ambalo ni la muhimu na la kufurahisha ni kwamba katika ile there is something called 95-95-95 ratio. Katika Embu mambo ya wale watu ambao wanaishi na HIV ni 9,782, ambapo kati ya hao 9,000, 98.1% wanajua status yao. Alafu kati ya hao pia 92.5% wanameza madawa zile tembe za ARV. Alafu pia tumeelezwa kwamba kati ya hao pia 94.8% are virally suppressed, kumaanisha hawawezi kuambukiza. Na hilo ni jambo la kufurahisha kwamba tunafanya maendeleo, tunaendelea katika mambo na kupunguza uenezaji wa HIV, new infections, and pia transmission, mother to child transmission. Pia tumeambiwa kwamba 2019 tulikuwa at 11.4%, lakini saizi Embu County tuko at 6.60%. Kwa hivyo tunafuraha sana, tunaendelea vizuri kama Embu County.
The Council of Legal Education has officially launched its inaugural 2-day conference at Safari Park Hotel in Nairobi, aimed at strengthening the capacity of law faculties and bar training institutions to deliver integrity-focused legal education. The conference, themed Legal Education and Training for a Globally Competitive Lawyer, has brought together legal practitioners, academics, law enforcement representatives, and regional stakeholders to discuss modernizing legal education and training frameworks across East Africa. Now, during the opening remarks, CLE Chairperson Professor Collins Odote emphasized the Council's mandate to produce lawyers recognized both in Kenya and globally. He noted that Kenya's educational landscape has evolved significantly, making it necessary to adapt legal training to meet modern demands, highlighting the importance of regulation in the legal field. Now, highlighting the importance of the regulation education, panelist Professor PLO Lumumba stressed that progress is limited if law is taught without proper oversight and regulation in Kenya institutions. The sentiment was echoed by David Todd, Director of Legal Services at the Anti-Corruption Commission, who called for structured regulation to ensure the integrity and quality of legal training.
I'm the chair of the Council of Legal Education. As you see, this conference is titled The Future of Legal Education, because we are at a reflection point, an opportunity for us to ask ourselves, where does legal education go into the country in terms of the changing landscape, a changing landscape globally, where there is increased internationalization, not just of the economy, but also of governance. So we need to ensure that we are producing lawyers, not just for the Kenyan market, as one of the guests said, but lawyers for the globe, lawyers who understand international relations, lawyers who understand regional integration, but lawyers who also understand the opportunities and challenges that those two things provide. So that's why we are, and also we are having a future of legal education, because you know the education system currently is undergoing transformation. We adopted a competency-based education a few years ago. Those students or those learners are about to reach the university in 2029. We need to be prepared as a profession to ask ourselves, what does it mean for how we teach? What does it mean for what we teach, and what does it mean for how we mentor and prepare them for the job market?
All right, there's something about integrity that we really talked about in your speech, and the importance of infusing integrity courses in terms of our curriculum. Do you still hold on?
I think extremely critical. A lot of times, lawyers, people sometimes misunderstand lawyers. They say lawyers represent criminals. But you know, everybody must have their day in court. But as we represent different shades of society, we must do so with the highest levels of integrity.
What must be understood is that the legal system must always grow. Many years ago, when I was a law student, there was only one law school in Kenya. Today, there are over 20 law schools in Kenya. The world has changed. Some will tell you we are on the cusp of the 4th and 5th industrial revolution. We are talking about artificial intelligence. We are talking about integration of the East African region. We are talking about Africa Agenda 2063 and Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We are talking about climate change. These things must be accommodated in the training of lawyers. And this conference is designed to anticipate those changes so that the law graduate who is produced in any of our law schools can carry his or her own weight, not only within Kenya, but within East Africa, within the African continent, and indeed the world. Many times in this country, people think that appearing in court is what constitutes legal practice. Perhaps that is only 5%. Legal practice is in every area, is in aviation, is in international relations, and those are the things that must be given their pride of place as we get into the 3rd decade of the 21st century.
Now, institutions of higher learning have been urged to invest more in modern training equipment and place greater emphasis on hands-on learning Let's take that again. Institutions of higher learning have been urged to invest more in modern training equipment and place greater emphasis on hands-on learning to better prepare the students for job market and enhance professionalism across various fields. Now, the call was made by Safia Dida, dental laboratory technician at Mount Kenya University, who noted that many universities place excessive focus on theoretical instruction at the expense of practical training. Now, she warned that the imbalance leaves graduates underprepared for real workplace demands. Dida emphasized that practical exposure is essential in developing competence, or the competent professionals, particularly in technical and health-related disciplines, where skills and experience are critical to quality service delivery.
The institution of higher learning usually invest in equipment for practical purpose, because most of the courses is based on the work of the hand. There is a cases where some interns or even some new employees do some grievous mistake, and these are human beings we are dealing with. So what is needed, what a patient needs, is your service of your hand. If you cannot manipulate using your own hands, but you have it up in your mind, it doesn't help. So practicals is necessary for you to do and go and fit, and also to give a safe environment for the patient, and also to do something realistic. You may become perfectly knowing everything theoretically, but when it comes to work of your hand, you will not be able to produce even a single crown or anything related to work of your hand. So this leads to confusion, or even someone can lose job, even someone can even exit job by himself because he or she sees that they cannot fit in this field. I encourage each and every student to focus on practicals as well as they focus on the theories as well, and also they do the more practice so that they become skillful. And also to the supervisors and the lecturers, for the individual skills, they demonstrate the practicals clearly to the student so that they will understand. And also as a lecturers and the supervisors, we're supposed to give room for each and every student to do as, if they want to repeat the practicals, they repeat as much as they can until they feel like they are competent enough to go out and give the service which is required. The equipment that we received is a phantom head, and its importance is it helps the student to do the practicals on before they come to the real patient. They provide with the anatomies and of the oral structures where the student is able to do every kind of procedures.
Being a student taking a course that is in the medical field, I've come to realize that it's very important for schools that are offering any course to invest very much in equipment, because it's not just enough to do theory. I've realized that with just theory and just practical without now being introduced to the very critical equipment, it's not that helping, because you will find that yes, you will understand the theory, but you have not been exposed to the equipment. So it's good that all institutions invest so much in the equipment that are necessary, especially in the medical field, because you will realize that when you go out there, you're going to deal with human beings. You're going to be taking care of lives. So being introduced to the very critical equipment is important.
Now, Kenya's fight against HIV is under renewed pressure, with new data showing a worrying surge in infections. Now, young people aged 11 to 20 lead in HIV infection rates in Kiambu County, a trend experts attribute to alcohol and drug abuse. Kikuyu Deputy County Commissioner Charles Laboso has called for collaborative efforts to tackle this issue, urging increased awareness in schools to protect the most vulnerable. Now, residents are also being encouraged to go for testing and learn safe practices to help curb the spread of the virus.
The age we are actually worried about is the young people, and that is why, because they are the ones who are having a very high infection rate, because unajua watu wa young, they go doing some things, they are not worried of what HIV is, but HIV is still there, and that's why we want to create awareness.
Many of our school-going children are home now, and it's the responsibility of our parents to make sure that they know what they are doing when they are on holiday, that they are always within their purview. Parents should always know what their kids are doing, where they are.
Right, even as the world marked World AIDS Day this particular week, Nairobi was ranked the highest with the new cases reported in Nairobi actually high as compared to the other counties. Quite a worrying trend right here in the country's capital. All right, moving on, border riders in Garissa County have been urged to stay vigilant as the political season heats up ahead of the 2027 general elections. Harij Dahie, chairperson of the Accounts Committee in the Garissa County Assembly, called on riders to avoid involvement in criminal activities and to maintain discipline in their work. Now, he further emphasized that any participation in political activities should remain peaceful and must not be used as a recipe to incite violence or violate the law.
Na watu wa bodaboda ni waaminifu. Wangekuwa wakola, hawangeweza kubeba mtu saa 7 ya usiku na wamfikishe kwa nyumba na wahakikisha ameingia kwa geti ndani. Hao vijana kwa sababu ya hiyo uaminifu wamefanya kazi nzuri. Lakini kuna wale wachache ambaye hawataki kufanya kazi. Wamefanya kazi ya bodaboda iwe kuonekana picha mbaya kwa sababu wanaumiza vijana wetu, wanawadunga visu.
Vile nitakuwa na well trained officers ambao watakuwa wanachunga traffic, ambao watakuwa kwa ground every now and then, watakuwa wanasaidiana na bodaboda ili waendeshe magari zao vizuri.
Right, concerns are rising over the skyrocketing cases of gender-based violence, with the national government now being, being urged to strengthen security and court structures to ensure effective response to these acts. Now, during an event at Mutwapa Police Station to hand over equipment for the Victim Support Unit, Human Rights Officer Charles Kemoy from the United Nations highlighted the need for safe spaces for victims and better transport for police officers to prevent conflicts from escalating. Now, this comes at a time when experts sounded an alarm that Kenya is at risks following the footsteps of the countries with poor records on gender-based violence, and thus the troubling trend must be revised.
We went to look at the gender desk and the space that is there. Clearly, it is not the best for dealing with these issues because it's too small and it's not possible for anybody to report cases where they feel or they fear that the information that they are providing will be leaked or where there are other people present. So clearly it is important to address that issue.
Masikio ya serikali ni nini? Mtoa habari kwetu na hatua itachukuliwa haraka iwezekanavyo, na sisi tuko hapa kudumisha amani na tutakubali mwananchi yote ama mtoto yote wa hii nchi adhulumiwe na wakora.
Gatuzi letu tumeweza kuanza kuona visa ambazo vinaongezeka vya kulawiti watoto na pia visa vya kudhulumiwa kutumia njia ya mtandao ambazo zimeweza kuanza kuongezeka, na pia tungeweza kushukuru jamii kuwa wameanza sasa kupiga ripoti kuhusu visa za wale ambao wako na shida ya kiakili ambao wamekuwa wakidhulumiwa.
Wazazi tafadhalini, hii yote ni kwa sababu yenu. Shida ya watoto wetu ni nyinyi mnasababisha. Defilement cases, mzazi anaficha hata kuja kuripoti hiyo cases. Ni mtoto wako anaumia. Remember hiyo kitu bali itaishi kwa kichwa mtoto wako. Hata ukimzuia asikuje kuripoti, itamuaffect in future kwa akili yake.
From across our borders, the Tanzanian police have issued a stern warning against demonstrators over demonstrations planned for the 9th of this month, saying that organizers will face legal action. Now, government spokesperson Gerson Msigwa has accused those behind their protest of attempting to drag the country into unrest. This comes as Tanzania reels from the days of deadly clashes following disputed elections, with the opposition claiming at least 700 people have died nationwide, while rather with fears rising and freedom shrinking. The country now faces one of its most perilous moments years, at least not just for power, but of democracy itself.
Jeshi la polisi kwa kushirikiana na vyombo vingine vya ulinzi na usalama vimekuwa vikifuatilia kwa karibu sana yanayoendelea katika mitandao ya kijamii na kwenye makundi sogozi wakihamasisha wanayoyaita maandamano ya amani yasiyo na kikomo ya tarehe 9 Disemba 2025. Ni uhalifu mkubwa unaoendelea kuhamasishwa. Hali kama hii kwa nchi yoyote ile duniani ni tishio kubwa la maisha ya watu, uchumi wa nchi na masuala yote ya kijamii.
Alright, it is exactly 39 minutes past the top of the hour. I do for a short breather here on the drift, but when we come back, we'll tell you what exactly the newspapers are saying. Morning on the December 5th of 2025. Now the Daily Nation front page, actually top story on the front page of the Daily Nation says State House snub exposes ODM rift. All right, and a quite revolved unfold inside the Orange Democratic Movement after the senior party officials boycotted the State House meeting convened by President William Ruto for newly elected broad-based MPs, effectively leaving party leader Dr. Oburu Oginga to attend the event. All right. And of course, there is a picture there on the front page of the Daily Nation of the party leader of ODM, that is Oburu Oginga, who took over as the party leader after his brother, the former Prime Minister and the late Raila Amolo Odinga. This picture there of President William Ruto shaking hands with the newly elected Member of Parliament from Mbeere North constituency, that is Leo Amodhende, that is in State House. All right. Now, it was meant to be a victory parade at State House for the broad-based government partners following their exploits in the recent by-elections. President William Ruto rolled out the red carpet for the newly elected UDA and ODM lawmakers, flanked by the ruling outfit leaders, but the Orange Party losses, other bosses, with the exception of party leader Oburu Oginga, were not sure if it has since emerged that other officials deliberately skipped the ceremony. Of course, I beg your pardon. That's the story on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation this morning. Now, two other stories making headlines on the Daily Nation. Front page is MP claims teachers' medical cover is a raw deal. Right, and of course, we'll remember that the teachers were actually moved from the Minet cover now to the the newly Social Health Authority, that is SHA. Right, now the MP claims that teachers' medical cover is a raw deal. All right, that's on page 7 of the Daily Nation this particular morning. Now, 3 shots dead in chaotic gold mining forum in Kakamega County. Also, that's on page 12, where angry miners opposed to the issuance of government of a mining license to a farm clashed with police after disrupting a public hearing in Ikolomani. Of course, 3 actually died. All right, moving on. Police boss in brutal Gen Z crackdown moved to in shake-up of top commander. The story also on page 2. And City Hall set to impose hefty fees on motorist traders and developers. That as well is on page 3 of the Daily Nation this morning. Now let's take a look on what the Standard newspaper this morning has to say. Now, top story on the Standard newspaper. There is a picture there, of course, the head of state, that is President William Ruto. And top story, the headline of the Standard newspaper says, Ruto betrayed you. Now, church leaders have unleashed one of its most blistering attacks yet on President William Ruto's administration, accusing it of crushing the poor, betraying the youth, and dragging the nation into a deepening crisis. In a serious statement, clerics warned that country that the country, a country is a devastated nation, quote unquote, teetering on the edges now with the corruption, election manipulation, and economic despair fueling public anger like a ticking time bomb. Now, issues raised by the clerics include: one, collapse of governance, and the church accuses the executive and parliament of failed leadership, corruption, passing unjust laws, eroding democracy, and enabling election malpractice. All right. Now, issue number 2, which the clerics raised yesterday, the clerics highlight soaring poverty, unbearable cost of living, company closures, mass unemployment, shrinking purchasing power, and the collapse of small businesses. Issue number 3, failure of services. Now, they cite a broken education system starved of capitation funds, a failing tertiary sector, and an opaque corruption-ridden social health authority. All right. They were having a press conference that was yesterday, where the clerics issued, their weighed in on how they feel, on how the economy is heading towards, and how the government of President William Ruto has been since, they took office. And of course, they were having the press briefing that was yesterday. And of course, there's a picture there of NCCK Chairman Elias Otieno Ogola addressing a press conference in Limuru on December 4th of 2025, which was yesterday. And of course, now Elias Otieno says, and I quote, that the state of despair and frustration, which is driven by injustice, is not sustained if the people of Kenya do not arise and rescue the nation. Even the Constitution bonds that the bind of the nation together shall fall apart. Those are the words of the NCCK chair, that is Elias Otieno, during yesterday's press briefing, right, where they raised some of the issues they feel that the country need to focus more on. Of course, remember, this is not the first time the clerics are issuing press statements in regards to how the governance of this particular country. You remember just some few months ago, the same clerics went on to the press, and they've been vocal since the Gen Z-led protest that was in 2024. They stood up and said, listen to our children and whatnot. They've been vocal, in keeping the government in check. All right, now that's what's up on the front pages of the Daily Nation and, of course, the Standard newspaper this particular morning. Now, we're taking a short breather, but when we come back, today we're having a very special segment on the drift, where, let me not tell you about that. See you on the other side after the break.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world. transforming your world.
EBN TV cares about the growth of your business. To advertise with us, call 0725 386 501 or 0740 653 453. EBN TV, transforming your world.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
Have you ever turned on your radio or TV and felt blessed by the Word of God? Imagine if one day the message was no longer there. Right now, EBN TV and Radio Mshindi need your help to keep the gospel on air. For as little as Kenya shillings 500 to as much as the Lord will lay in your heart per month, you can become a partner and ensure that millions continue to hear the life-changing message of Jesus Christ. Your monthly support means more souls saved, more lives transformed, and more hope shared. Join us today. Send the word partner to 0740 653 453 or call 0794 195 392 to sign up. Together, let's keep the gospel on air.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
All right, welcome back to the program. It is exactly 2 minutes past the top of the hour. Now, we're having a special segment here on The Drift, and we hit the streets to ask general knowledge and general knowledge on social issues and just testing people's IQ, and the responses were hilarious. Now I'm leaving you with this particular episode of The Drift on how much do you know. All right. Take a look. My name is Umat Masharia. See you in the course of the day, even as we continue keeping you up to speed with what's making headlines from across our 47 counties and, of course, across our borders as far as news is concerned. But until then, let's do this again when God says we do. But watch this particular episode of The Drift.
Flag ya Kenya. Tuko na mnyama mgani kwa flag ya Kenya?
Si ni flamingo mami.
Kwa flag ya Kenya kuna mnyama mgani?
Ndege ni dove.
Bebe, nibembeleze ni bebe, oh Yesu unibebe, nichukue unibebe, nipeleke mbinguni salama.
Nichukue unibebe, mikononi mwako niwe salama.
After million tunaenda billion, after billion tunaenda trillion, after trillion tutaenda ngapi? Zillion.
What are you saying? What are you saying? What is he saying?
Huko na hizi nduru za kuaminika. Nduru za kuaminika zipigwa aje?
Hey y'all, come look at this.
Alright, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Depends at what time you're watching this particular episode of The Drift. My name is Martin Masharia. Welcome to this episode of The Drift. And today we are outside. We want to take a look on we want to test our viewers' IQ. We want to ask them questions in regards to social matters. Alright, so stay tuned for that particular episode. My name is Martin Masharia and this is The Drift.
Flag ya Kenya. Kuna mnyama mgani?
Si simba. I think ni simba.
Flag ya Kenya. Tuko na mnyama mgani kwa flag ya Kenya?
Si ni flamingo man. Si ni kitu ka flamingo hapo hivyo.
Hairstyle. Kwa Kiswahili tutasemaje?
Hairstyle. Kwa Kiswahili ni ngumu. Hayo sijui.
After million tunaenda billion. After billion tunaenda trillion. After trillion tutaenda ngapi?
Zillion.
After trillion? After trillion?
Inaitwa trillion is something.
After 1 million tunaenda billion, alafu trillion. After trillion?
Trillion ama ni trillion. Something like trillion, yeah?
Tukitoka trillion tunaenda ngapi?
Trillion.
Watoto wakizaliwa wawili tunawaita twins. Wakizaliwa watatu tunawaita triplets. Wakizaliwa wanne tunawaitaje?
Quadrillets.
Watoto wakizaliwa wawili tunawaitanga twins. Wakizaliwa watatu tunawaita triplets. Wakizaliwa wanne tutawaitaje?
Wakizaliwa wanne quadruplets.
Flag ya Kenya inakuwa na mnyama mgani?
Flag ya Kenya si simba.
Ndio mtu hasara na kizungu. Umse tutamwambiaje?
Hey y'all, come look at this.
Angry loss.
Tukitoka million tunaenda billion. Tukitoka billion tunaenda trillion. Tukitoka trillion tunaenda nini?
Quadrillion.
What are you saying? What is he saying?
Wakizaliwa watatu tunawaitanga triplets. Wakizaliwa wanne tutawaitaje?
Wanne naita quadrant.
Nduru za kuaminika zipigwaje?
Hey y'all, come look at this.
Hiyo.
Flag ya Kenya. Ni mnyama mgani anakuwa flag ya Kenya?
Ni simba.
Hairstyle la Kiswahili tutaitaje?
Hairstyle. Muundo nywele.
Ai, ni ngumu.
Sijui. Hapana, sijui.
Wada.
Bwana Mungu nashangaa kabisa
nikifikiri jinsi ulivyo, roho yangu naye kuimbie.
Atanipigania nami nitanyamaza kimya, atanitetea.
Weza kufanya, unaweza kutenda mambo makubwa zaidi ya niombavyo. Nibebe, nibembeleze, nibebe, oh Yesu, nibebe.
Alright, that's what's up. I hope you've been entertained. I hope you've learned a thing or two. You've been watching The Drift with me, Martin Masharia. See you in the next episode.